The call to adventure. The year was 1943, and the USS Wahoo was preparing for another mission in the Pacific Theater. The submarine, a Gato-class vessel, had already built a reputation for being one of the most aggressive and successful submarines in the U.S. Navy. The crew was well aware of their ship's history and the weight of their responsibility. Lieutenant Commander Dudley Walker Mush Morton had recently taken command of the Wahoo. Known for his bold tactics and unyielding determination, Morton was the perfect leader for this perilous journey. As the submarine departed from Pearl Harbor, the crew gathered on the deck, watching the familiar coastline fade into the distance. "All right, men, listen up." Morton's voice carried authority and confidence. "We're heading into enemy waters. Our mission is to disrupt Japanese shipping and cripple their supply lines. We've done it before, and we'll do it again. But remember, stay sharp, stay focused, and watch each other's backs." The crew responded with a unified nod, understanding the gravity of the mission ahead. They had trained for this moment, and their bond was strong. Among them was Lieutenant Richard O'Kane, the executive officer, who had served on the Wahoo since its commissioning. His experience and calm demeanor provided a steadying presence. As the Wahoo cut through the waves, the crew settled into their routines. The sound of the engines, the hum of machinery, and the occasional chatter filled the confined spaces of the submarine. Every member of the crew had a role to play, from the torpedo room to the control room. Days turned into nights, and the submarine journeyed deeper into the Pacific. The tension was palpable, but so was the sense of purpose. They were on a mission that could turn the tide of the war, and each sailor felt the weight of that responsibility. One evening, as the sun set, casting an orange glow across the water, Morton gathered the crew for a briefing. "We're approaching the Sea of Japan," he began. "This is where things get serious. Our intel suggests heavy enemy activity. We'll be diving deep and staying silent. Trust your training, and trust each other." The crew nodded, the seriousness of the situation sinking in. They knew that the Sea of Japan was heavily patrolled by the Japanese Navy, and any mistake could be fatal. But they also knew that the Wahoo had a reputation to uphold, and they were determined to make their mark. As night fell, the submarine descended into the depths, cloaked in darkness. The crew took their positions, eyes glued to the instruments, ears attuned to every sound. The tension was thick, but so was their resolve. Lieutenant O'Kane stood beside Morton in the control room. "We've got a good crew," he said quietly. "They'll pull through." Morton nodded. "I know they will. We've got a job to do, and we'll do it." The Wahoo continued its silent journey, a predator in the depths, ready to strike. The crew was focused, their minds sharp, their hearts steeled for the challenges ahead. They were on a mission to make history, and they knew the risks. As the first rays of dawn began to pierce the darkness, the Wahoo approached its patrol area. The crew was ready, their spirits high. They were about to embark on a journey that would test their courage, their skill, and their determination. But for now, they were prepared to face whatever lay ahead. And so, the USS Wahoo, under the command of Lieutenant Commander Dudley Walker Mush Morton, began its 7th war patrol. The adventure had only just begun. Into the depths. The USS Wahoo sailed steadily through the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, heading towards the Sea of Japan. The tension among the crew was palpable, but so was their sense of duty. Each member knew that their mission was critical to the war effort, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Lieutenant Commander Dudley Walker Mush Morton, the fearless leader of the Wahoo, stood in the control room, his eyes scanning the horizon. His confidence was infectious, instilling a sense of calm in his crew. He had a reputation for being aggressive and relentless, and his strategies had earned the Wahoo a formidable reputation. As they approached enemy waters, Morton called a meeting with his officers. "We're getting close to the Sea of Japan," he began. "Intel indicates heavy enemy activity in the area. We need to be vigilant and ready to engage at a moment's notice. Our objective is to disrupt Japanese shipping lines and create as much chaos as possible." Lieutenant Richard O'Kane, the executive officer, nodded in agreement. "We've trained for this. The crew is ready." Morton smiled. "Good. Let's show them what the Wahoo can do." The submarine descended deeper into the ocean, moving stealthily through the water. The crew was on high alert, their senses heightened as they prepared for their first encounter with the enemy. The silence inside the submarine was broken only by the occasional hum of machinery and the whispered conversations among the sailors. The first sign of enemy activity came on a moonless night. The sonar operator, Seaman First Class Joe Williams, picked up faint signals on the sonar. "Captain, I've got something," he said, his voice steady. "Sounds like a convoy, bearing 120 degrees. Morton moved quickly to Williams' side. "How many ships?" "At least 3, sir. Possibly more." Morton nodded. Prepare for attack. All hands to battle stations. The crew moved swiftly, each member taking their position with practiced precision. The Wahoo's torpedo tubes were loaded, and the crew waited for Morton's command. Steady, men, Morton said, his voice calm and reassuring. We'll take them by surprise. The submarine glided silently through the water, approaching the enemy convoy. The tension was thick, but the crew's training and discipline held strong. Morton gave the order to fire, and the Wahoo launched a spread of torpedoes. The first torpedo hit its mark, striking a freighter and causing a massive explosion. The crew cheered quietly as the ship began to sink. But there was no time to celebrate. The Japanese convoy quickly retaliated, dropping depth charges into the water. Hold steady. Morton ordered as the Wahoo dove deeper to avoid the explosions. The submarine shook violently as the depth charges detonated around them, but the crew held their positions. O'Kane monitored the situation closely. We've got to move fast, Captain. They're closing in. Morton nodded. Bring us around. Prepare to fire again. The Wahoo maneuvered skillfully, avoiding the enemy's attacks and lining up for another strike. The crew worked with precision, launching another salvo of torpedoes. This time, 2 more ships were hit, their hulls ripping apart under the force of the explosions. As the Japanese destroyers closed in, Morton made a bold decision. Surface the boat. We'll use the deck gun. The crew executed the order flawlessly. The Wahoo surfaced, and the deck gun crew sprang into action, firing at the approaching destroyers. The battle raged on the surface, with the Wahoo's gunners displaying remarkable skill and courage. The Japanese forces, caught off guard by the submarine's audacity, struggled to mount an effective counterattack. Morton's aggressive tactics paid off, and the Wahoo managed to inflict significant damage before diving back beneath the waves. Exhausted but victorious, the crew took a moment to regroup. Morton addressed them over the intercom. Excellent work, everyone. We've dealt a serious blow to the enemy today. But this is just the beginning. Stay sharp. There's more work to be done. The Wahoo continued its patrol, navigating the treacherous waters of the Sea of Japan. The crew remained vigilant, knowing that danger lurked around every corner. They faced numerous challenges, from malfunctioning torpedoes to relentless enemy attacks, but their determination never wavered. Each encounter with the enemy was a test of their skill and resolve. The crew's bond grew stronger with every mission, their camaraderie a vital source of strength in the face of adversity. Morton's leadership inspired confidence, and O'Kane's steady presence provided reassurance. As the days turned into weeks, the Wahoo's successes mounted. They disrupted supply lines, sank enemy ships, and evaded capture time and again. But the toll of constant battle weighed heavily on the crew. The confines of the submarine, the ever-present danger, and the knowledge that each patrol could be their last created an atmosphere of intense pressure. Yet, through it all, the crew of the Wahoo remained steadfast. They were driven by a sense of duty and a desire to make a difference. Their mission was clear, and they were determined to see it through, no matter the cost. The Wahoo's journey into the depths of the Sea of Japan was a testament to the bravery and resilience of its crew. They faced insurmountable odds with courage and determination, their actions leaving an indelible mark on the history of World War II. The daring missions. The USS Wahoo pressed deeper into the Sea of Japan, the crew's resolve growing stronger with each passing day. The submarine's previous successes had emboldened them, but they were acutely aware that their mission was far from over. Lieutenant Commander Dudley Walker Mush Morton knew that their aggressive tactics had earned them a reputation, and he was determined to live up to it. It was a dark, moonless night when the Wahoo's sonar operator, Joe Williams, picked up faint signals of another enemy convoy. The tension in the control room was palpable as Morton and his officers analyzed the data. 3 ships, bearing 090 degrees, Williams reported. They're moving slow, likely transports with an escort. Morton nodded, a determined look on his face. All right, men, let's get in position. Prepare to attack. The Wahoo maneuvered silently through the water, closing the distance to the convoy. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, each member knowing exactly what was required of them. The submarine's torpedo tubes were loaded and ready. As they approached the convoy, the crew could see the faint outlines of the enemy ships through the periscope. Morton ordered the Wahoo to dive deeper, positioning them for an optimal attack. Fire torpedoes 1 and 2, Morton commanded. The submarine shuddered as the torpedoes were launched, streaking towards their targets. Moments later, a massive explosion rocked the water as the first torpedo hit a transport ship. The crew watched in grim satisfaction as the ship began to sink. But their success was short-lived. The Japanese escort quickly responded, launching depth charges into the water. The Wahoo dove deeper, the crew bracing themselves as the explosions rattled the submarine. "Hold steady," Morton urged, his voice calm and steady despite the chaos around them. The Wahoo evaded the depth charges, emerging unscathed. Morton ordered the submarine to surface, readying the deck gun for another attack. The crew sprang into action, firing at the remaining ships in the convoy. The battle was fierce, with the Wahoo's gunners displaying remarkable skill and courage. Despite the intensity of the fight, the crew's morale remained high. They had trained for this, and their determination to succeed drove them forward. As the last of the enemy ships were dealt with, the Wahoo dove back beneath the waves, disappearing into the depths. The crew took a moment to regroup, their spirits lifted by their latest victory. Over the next few days, the Wahoo continued its relentless assault on Japanese shipping lines. They encountered numerous convoys, each engagement a test of their skill and resolve. Morton's aggressive tactics paid off time and again, with the submarine racking up an impressive tally of enemy ships sunk. One of the most daring missions occurred as the Wahoo approached the heavily fortified waters near the coast of Korea. Intelligence had reported a large enemy transport ship, the WWII, carrying troops and supplies. Morton knew that taking out this ship would deal a significant blow to the Japanese war effort. The Wahoo moved into position under the cover of darkness, the crew tense but focused. Morton ordered a spread of torpedoes to be launched, each one aimed with precision at the massive transport. The first torpedo struck the WWII midships, causing a massive explosion. The ship began to list heavily, but it was still afloat. Morton ordered a second salvo of torpedoes, determined to finish the job. As the second round of torpedoes hit, the WWII began to break apart, sinking rapidly. The Wahoo surfaced, and the crew manned the deck guns, targeting the lifeboats and ensuring the transport's cargo would not reach its destination. The crew's actions were swift and decisive, their resolve unshakable. The Wahoo had once again demonstrated its effectiveness as a weapon of war, its crew proving their mettle in the face of danger. However, the constant engagements were taking their toll. The crew was exhausted, the strain of continuous battle evident in their faces. Morton knew that they needed a break, but he also knew that their mission was far from over. The Wahoo continued its patrol, navigating the treacherous waters with skill and precision. Each encounter with the enemy was a reminder of the stakes, the crew's determination driving them forward. As they neared the end of their patrol, the Wahoo encountered a heavily escorted convoy. Morton knew that this would be their toughest challenge yet, but he was confident in his crew's abilities. The Wahoo moved into position, the crew ready for battle. Morton ordered the launch of torpedoes, each one aimed at a critical target in the convoy. The water erupted with explosions as the torpedoes found their marks, the enemy ships breaking apart under the assault. The Japanese escorts responded with a ferocity the Wahoo had not yet encountered. Depth charges rained down, the submarine shaking violently with each explosion. The crew held their positions, their training and discipline keeping them steady. Morton ordered the Wahoo to dive deeper, maneuvering to evade the relentless attack. The submarine's skillful maneuvers paid off, and they managed to escape the barrage unscathed. Exhausted but victorious, the crew took a moment to breathe. Morton addressed them over the intercom. "You've all done an incredible job. We've dealt a significant blow to the enemy, and you should be proud. But remember, we're not done yet. Stay sharp." The Wahoo continued its patrol, the crew's spirits high despite the exhaustion. They knew that each mission brought them closer to their goal, their actions contributing to the larger war effort. The daring missions of the USS Wahoo were a testament to the bravery and skill of its crew. They faced insurmountable odds with courage and determination, their actions leaving an indelible mark on the history of World War II. The Final Voyage. The USS Wahoo's 7th War Patrol was drawing to a close, but the crew remained vigilant. They had already achieved remarkable success, but Lieutenant Commander Dudley Walker Mush Morton knew that their mission was not complete. The stakes were higher than ever, and the dangers they faced were ever present. As the Wahoo navigated the treacherous waters of the Sea of Japan, Morton gathered his officers for a briefing. "We're heading into La Pérouse Strait," he said, pointing to the map spread out on the table. "This is a critical area, heavily patrolled by the Japanese. We need to stay sharp and be ready for anything." Lieutenant Richard O'Kane, the executive officer, nodded. "We've come this far, Captain. We'll see this through." Morton looked around at his officers, their faces reflecting the determination that had carried them through countless battles. "Let's do this," he said. "For the crew, and for the mission." The Wahoo continued its journey, the crew prepared for the challenges ahead. The waters of the La Pérouse Strait were known for their treacherous currents and heavy enemy presence. The crew's nerves were taut, but their resolve was unshakable. As they approached the strait, the sonar operator picked up the faint sounds of enemy ships. Morton ordered the Wahoo to dive, the submarine slipping silently beneath the waves. The crew took their positions, eyes glued to their instruments, ears attuned to every sound. Enemy convoy, bearing 110 degrees, reported Seaman First Class Joe Williams. 3 ships, with escorts. Morton's eyes narrowed. Prepare for attack. All hands to battle stations. The Wahoo moved into position, the crew working with practiced efficiency. Morton ordered the launch of torpedoes, each one aimed with deadly precision at the enemy convoy. The first torpedo struck a transport ship, causing a massive explosion. The second and third torpedoes hit their marks, sending another transport and an escort ship to the bottom. But the Japanese were quick to retaliate. Depth charges exploded around the Wahoo, the submarine shaking violently with each detonation. Morton ordered evasive maneuvers, the Wahoo diving deeper to avoid the explosions. Hold steady, Morton urged, his voice calm and reassuring despite the chaos. We've got this. The Wahoo's skillful maneuvers allowed it to evade the worst of the attack, but the enemy was relentless. As the submarine surfaced to recharge its batteries, the crew spotted a Japanese aircraft approaching. Aircraft incoming, shouted O'Kane. Dive! Dive! The Wahoo dove just as the aircraft dropped its bombs. The explosions rocked the submarine, but it managed to evade serious damage. Morton ordered the submarine to surface again, determined to continue their mission. As the Wahoo surfaced, the crew spotted the faint outlines of more enemy ships on the horizon. Morton knew that they were running low on torpedoes and that another engagement would be risky. We've got to make these shots count, he said. Prepare for a surface attack. The Wahoo's deck gun crew sprang into action, targeting the approaching ships. The battle was fierce, with the Wahoo's gunners displaying remarkable skill and courage. Despite the intensity of the fight, the crew's morale remained high. They had trained for this, and their determination to succeed drove them forward. But the enemy's response was swift and brutal. More aircraft appeared, dropping bombs with deadly accuracy. The Wahoo's crew fought valiantly, but the submarine was taking heavy damage. Morton knew that they were running out of options. All hands, brace for impact, Morton shouted as another bomb exploded nearby. The Wahoo shuddered violently, the lights flickering as the submarine took on water. The crew worked frantically to contain the damage, but the situation was dire. We're not going to make it, O'Kane said quietly, his voice filled with a mix of determination and resignation. Morton looked around at his crew, their faces reflecting the gravity of their situation. We've fought hard, and we've made a difference, he said. But we've got to get out of here. Prepare to abandon ship. The crew moved swiftly, following Morton's orders with grim determination. They knew the risks, and they were ready to face them. As the Wahoo continued to take on water, Morton gave the final order. Abandon ship. Every man for himself. The crew evacuated the submarine, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that their mission had come to a tragic end. As they climbed into the life rafts, they watched the Wahoo sink beneath the waves, a silent testament to their bravery and sacrifice. The aftermath of the Wahoo's final voyage was a somber one. The crew members who survived were rescued by Allied forces, their stories of courage and determination inspiring all who heard them. The loss of the Wahoo was a significant blow, but the legacy of its crew lived on. Years later, the wreck of the USS Wahoo was discovered in the La Perouse Strait, resting in the silent depths of the sea. A joint exercise between the US Navy and the Russian Navy conducted a wreath-laying ceremony at the site, honoring the memory of the brave men who had served aboard the submarine. The story of the USS Wahoo and its crew became a symbol of the courage and determination that defined the US Navy during World War II. Their actions had a lasting impact on the war effort, and their legacy continued to inspire future generations. As we remember the sacrifices made by the crew of the USS Wahoo, we are reminded of the incredible bravery and resilience that defined their journey. They faced insurmountable odds with unwavering determination, leaving an indelible mark on history. Thanks for watching The Animated General. Out.